If I told you to run a marathon, and at the end, when you get to the finish line, I would give you one singular chocolate bar, you probably would not do it. But if I told you that go run a marathon and at the end line, the finish, I would give you $1,000,000. Now all of a sudden, you probably would do it. You would probably find the motivation to run, and it wouldn't matter how hard it got, you would keep going. It wouldn't matter how many times you fall, you would get back up. You would keep running or crawling or doing whatever it takes to keep moving forward. Because at the end, the price is worth suffering for. It is worth going through the pain of a marathon. And so, what can we learn from this very simple example? Well, very simply, motivation is achieved when the price at the end is worth the time, energy, and pain it is to get it. And when the price is worth more, it's more valuable than the time, energy, and pain that is required to get it, you will have motivation. And so a very real world example from my life is that, well, I find it extremely hard to get motivated to study. Now, of course, I do my studies because I'm disciplined, but I find it very hard to find motivation to study, even though at the end I know there is a guarantee of a degree that will help me get a stable job and so on. But I find it very easy to find motivation to make these videos, for example. And the reason is very simple. I can keep making videos, make 150 videos and no one watches and get nothing for it, and there is no guarantee of success. But I still find motivation to do it, because at the end, the price, even after 10 years, 20 years of struggling, 20 years of not getting anything for it, at the end awaits my dream. And my dream is so worthy that it's worth suffering for 20 years, because it's my dream. It's literally the most valuable thing there is. And so the difference is that, well, I see the prices at the end differently. So despite the degree of a university degree being a literal guarantee as long as I complete the courses, even though it's a guarantee, I don't find motivation for it because I don't value it as much as I value my literal dream. And because I value my dream so much more, I'm literally willing to go through the uncertainty of, hey, it could be that I never succeed in YouTube. It could be that I never get views. And it could be that it takes 10 years, 20 years before I get any kind of success. But even that uncertainty and that struggle and the suffering that I have to go through for that is worth it because my dream is so valuable. Once again, you have to have a big enough price at the end, and motivation will literally appear like magic because it's worth doing. And so you have to find things that you actually find are worth doing. It's very hard to stay motivated if you're moving piles of sand from pile A to pile B and then back from pile B to pile A. Like, you can't be motivated to do that because you don't get anything out of it. And so you have to choose things that you're doing that are so big and the price at the end is so worthy that it's literally worth suffering for decades. And then you will always keep going. You will always stay motivated because it's worth it. And a very extreme example of this is literally survival. People who have been stranded in the wilderness, trapped in some island or in jungle, those are some of the most productive people in human history. They don't have food, they don't have water, they don't sleep, yet they continue to hike through the jungle. They do all kinds of physical labor to survive. They're 20 hours a day, they're doing something. Like, those are the most productive people in history because survival is worthy. once again, the price at the end, which in this case is survival, is so worth it that it's worth suffering for. It's worth, going through the jungle and trying to find your way out, even if it takes weeks with barely any food and water and no sleep. So it's literally worth it, so you will be motivated to do it. And so the key thing is that if you don't feel motivated to do your studies, you don't feel motivated to go to that dead-end job, you don't feel motivated to do whatever it is that you are doing, then the reason could very simply be that deep down you know that that's not what you want to do in life. You know that the price at the end, the goal, is not big enough. It doesn't satisfy you enough to where it's worth your time and energy. And the pain it takes to do it doesn't give you enough of a reward. And so you should try to find what that big thing is, what your dream is, what the big goal is that is so worth doing that you're willing to suffer for a long period for it. And when you are willing to suffer for a long period for that thing, all of a sudden you'll stay motivated. You won't lack motivation because it's literally worth suffering for. And a lot of people that you look up to, a lot of business owners, for example, they worked on their businesses for possibly a decade with no success. Yet they say, oh, it was easy to keep going. It was easy to keep running my business. It was easy to just, keep moving forward, even though it was in a way hard and difficult and there were doubts and uncertainties. And the reason for that is very simple. Because what's the alternative? If you want to achieve that big goal, that dream of yours, then what's the alternative than to doing whatever it takes? What's the alternative to taking the next step? It doesn't matter how hard it is, how much you have to struggle, how much pain you have to go through, how many attempts you have to make, how many failures you have to bounce back from, how many times you fall and you have to get back up. It does not matter because there is no alternative. And so another thing that you should remind yourself of when it gets hard and when you have those days when you just don't feel like it, is to think to yourself, what is the alternative? Truly, if you don't do what it takes, if you don't go through the struggle, you don't take the next step, you don't give it the next attempt, then what's the alternative? That you never achieve your dream? That you use your life doing something that you don't actually want to do? That you do something that doesn't satisfy you? That you live a life that was meant for someone else? What's the alternative? And so those are the two big lessons that should keep you motivated. First, you have to set a big enough goal to where it actually motivates you, and the price at the end of achieving it is worth it. And then you will find motivation to do it. And after you have that, and eventually times will get hard, eventually you will fail and fall, and then you have to pick yourself back up. And in those times, remind yourself, what is the alternative? There truly is no alternative except doing whatever it takes to achieve that dream, no matter how long it takes, no matter how hard it is, no matter how many doubts you have, no matter how many failures you have, no matter anything. There is no other alternative except to keep going. And so, go out there, chase your dreams, stay disciplined, and have a fantastic day.